Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Seattle Halal Foodies podcast. Today is our third episode, and today with us is our guest, brother Aslam Hasan. He is one of the three owners of the port of Peri Peri in Bothell, which started its journey last year in September, right? If I'm not wrong. So thank you for being with us and thanks for your time. So let's start. So first, let's talk about probably I would like to listen hear about your story. What inspired you to bring Port of Peri Peri to Washington?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much, Brother Mera, for having me. Of course, it's on behalf of my team. Uh, Without them, I'm nothing, right? So where we are right now, it's all because of my team and all that. The vision behind it, of course, uh, we are foodies, and every time nothing was happening on the weekend, and we are looking for some better places and so on, we may have to drive to Vancouver at least, right? We are three families. Our kids were raised up together, and we were all going all together. And the weekend is stuffing ourselves with one after another in Vancouver restaurants and so on. And then we were always wondering that there's nothing in here, right? What makes me inspired with the Port of Peri Peri is basically, every time I go back to Dallas because that's where I moved from here, right? So there is a Port of Peri Peri, and it's always crowded. Every time I land over there to go and meet my friends, that was my go-to place, right? So I contacted my friend over there in Dallas and said, you know what, we should have it here because it's okay. Right now, we are okay to drive and to Vancouver and all that stuff, but our kids are getting big, right? And they need something to locally where they can hang out. They feel good about it. They're not going to be any more tikka or tikka masala or korma folk, right? I mean, they need something different and unique. So that's why we run into it. And then the thing that what we have in mind when we started this is like, first of all, it has to be Zabiya halal. So our income is pure. We don't have to worry about anything, no alcohol, nothing, whether it's machine cut or whatever, right? It doesn't matter. But this is hand slaughtered Zabiya halal. Secondly, of course, we didn't have any background in restaurant, right? I mean, we have some one person who she runs to the catering business, right? And that's what she was actually kind of keep forcing us, do something. And I was like, okay. And I did actually, by the way, my MBA degree, right? So I know how to run the business. I didn't know how to run the restaurant. But then one thing I was sure that if I want to do some kind of restaurant business, I want to have a consistency, which means it has to be chef free. It has to have some process that we go through so it always consistent and remains there, right? And the third thing that what we have in mind is it has to be for everybody, right? It cannot be only for Muslims. Of course, preferably it's going to be a Muslims, right, community that I want to do, but we want to do for every community, every age group, every ethnicities, right? So this is the perfect combination of all these three things that we have in mind. And Alhamdulillah, we are lucky to have, we are able to execute our vision. If you come to our place, I mean, all different kind of groups are here, whether you can see Australian, South Africa, Britishers, of course, Muslims, right? From every country, they come here and eat. So which makes us really feel amazing, right? That's where we are.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes. So I would also want to hear what makes Peri Peri stand out if you compare to like any other restaurant or something as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the chicken. You eat our chicken. You cannot find chicken anywhere else, right? I mean, that's what the main thing is. Our chicken is hormone-free, antibiotic-free, cage-free, hand slaughtered zabiha, right? Every week there are like 30,000 birds that one person cuts from hand over the 2 days, right? And then it distributes out to to all those locations. Secondly, I mean, the process, right? I mean, so when we actually cut the chicken, we clean it and all that, we actually infuse it with our proprietary spices, right? So when it comes here, it also goes through, I would say, 6-step process before it actually hits the plate, right? and there is a process that it goes on the grill. You have to do the slow cook, the on the flame, and so on. And then and the fact that there are like six different kind of a sauces that you can choose from, right? So all the way from lemons to the ultra hot or extra hot, right? And then it actually enhances the flavor when it touches the fire. That's actually the beauty of the bird eye chili. That is actually the main ingredient of that sauce, right?
Yes.
So that's what the main and it's from a cuisine perspective. But if you come here in the restaurant, the one thing that we have in mind is not only the food, right? Is the ambiance. It's the feeling of being here. I love it when families come here, and it's very hard for them to leave, right? I mean, they hang out for hours here, and especially even our lounge area where you can come and the coffee and stuff. Another thing that what we have is, of course, the Yemeni coffee and the chai, right? Nobody have it in the area. So that's actually even more uniqueness that we bring into the market, right? So alhamdulillah, I mean, that's where, we kind of are measuring ourselves, right? Consistency, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting better.
Okay. So yeah, so something and probably a little bit different type of question I'm going to ask because you mentioned about the spices. Like obviously, peri peri is all about spices, right? Uh, and I'm not sure, like, this is a concept or restaurant that is first in Washington. So I'm assuming that maybe some customers are also trying this kind of cuisine, like this Afro-Portuguese cuisine with this level of spice for the first time. Has anyone ever come back and said, like, I underestimated the spice level? Any stories?
Oh, absolutely. It's always the case, right? And I actually warn people whenever they're here and they're like, is hot is hot? I say, you know what? It is hot, right? And I stop myself on the medium. But again, the unique thing is that if you really want to try the hot, you can mix it up with, for example, lemon and herb, right?
Yep.
So, and that's what I tell people. Don't start with all of a sudden to from hot or medium or whatever. Slowly and gradually build yourself up, right? And that's actually kind of a good thing because they're going to keep coming back and try it, right? And sometimes even myself, right? I of course you're going to ask me, right? Don't you get tired of eating the chicken? I don't, right? Because one day I'm eating plain, the other day I'm eating medium, the third day I'm eating lemon and herb, right? And every day I'm getting a unique flavor
Yes,
in my
exactly.
mouth, right? So that's a kind of a unique thing that also comes into play.
Okay. So what's your personal favorite? Like I know like I have tried different sauces and as you said, like they actually make because of the sauces, the chickens actually become like totally different and you actually taste different things. What's your personal favorite? Like if you
Yeah, yeah. So if I want to taste the chicken itself, right? Because again, the chicken is pre-marinated, right?
yes,
I tell my folks to do give me a plain, well cooked, right? So that actually gives me a flavor that the chicken all the way, and then the crunchiness of the chicken. If I have to go to the extreme side, I mixed Cajun with my mild sauce, right? That way you can get a flavor kick of Cajun, but it doesn't get so spicy because Cajun is between hot and extra hot, right?
yes.
Uh, but then when you mix it up, it actually balances out off. So that's what I do as a favorite, right? That's what.
Yeah, I think some as someone who is watching this, probably who has never been to Peri Peri, probably can follow this suggestion or something. Okay, so
Absolutely.
you said like you came from Dallas. I also started like when I first came to US, I was in Dallas, but I left in 2016, and I don't think it's still Peri Peri was there, but Peri Peri actually came after that, and but still I see from the food communities in Dallas especially, and also sometimes I also follow the food communities from other cities, say Chicago. There I see a very loyal following of this brand, Port of Peri Peri. What are you seeing in Washington? Is it happening here as well, or how are you cultivating that kind of loyalty here?
Oh yeah, I love it. There are folks here, and again from every background, right? There's not like only people from Pakistan or Bangladesh or anything, right? People are locally from here. Uh, if they are not here over the weekend, my weekend is not complete. I just tell them. I actually wait for them to come here, and it's so amazing to see their faces every weekend, right? Because the fact is, it's not only again the food, right? What they like about us is actually, the Gora people or the white people, right? So
Yeah.
they understand the value of we are having a family get-togethers, right? Because we get a mix of both, right? So families comes here, the kids come here, they sit here. People who are just sitting at home doing nothing, they can just come here and hang out. And I actually love to talk with them, right?
Yeah.
So over and over, I see that these people coming back here. Just give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's one thing I think I mentioned in my first show with Sean as well, that something I was missing in Seattle compared to what I was seeing in Dallas is I was seeing like families like going to the restaurant, or multi-generational people, right? Not going to the restaurants, and that's a actually a kind of sign that the restaurant is actually doing pretty very good, because different generations have different kind of taste preference or something, and once they actually go together, now you know that yeah, some finally you have done this. uh, so let's move on to the, since you are obviously a halal restaurant, and I actually run this halal community. So what I'm seeing is, although it's little slow, but it's accelerating. But Seattle's halal food scene is evolving. Like it's pretty like being like I see the acceleration in the, especially in the last 2 years. But there is a feeling that still there is something missing. So what do you think? Like in your opinion, what is missing in Seattle?
Um, well, I mean, I think that people have desire to eat out, right? And I think it's a variety of the food, right? So what happened is that what I noticed, there are these things opens up. Okay, they make a good advertisements and everything, but then when you go there, you really don't want to go there again, right? Because it's a one-time thing. And that was I was missing personally, right? I was like, I go there sometimes, they're like, okay, once in a while is fine, right? But I want to have something where I keep going, right? There are some restaurants here, you know that, right? Which
Yeah.
people love to go, keep going back there, right? So my thing is that if you want to open something, you want to make sure that how you make your customer happy so they can keep coming back, right? That is one thing that we focus on, right? You have must have noticed that it's not only a food, but one of the owner is always here,
Yeah.
right? Making sure that when the customer walks out is always happy. Make sure whenever the customer complains, we address that, right? So and of course, because our population is not as big as kind of we're still growing, right? But you can see that halal as things are now keep opening up. But at some time we need to think that, of course, how to like for example, there are a bunch of places that are opening up for this Nashville chicken and so on, right? But how much you're gonna, build this up with that one. So we need to think all these things through it. A little bit of variety, a little bit of taste, a little bit of ambience, making sure that the customers are happy. And that's where I actually make this kind of a Seattle halal scene goes a little bit on the higher level, right? Just like as Dallas were used to.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so just a complimentary question on that. This is probably not just of Seattle, overall about US. My opinion is like compared to some other countries, say UK or Canada, halal is actually still a little behind in US scenario. Uh, Whereas in other countries, it has become like kind of mainstream. It's not the case in US. Do you think that there is a possibility in future or near future that halal will be a mainstream, or you think it's going to be difficult?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of education, right? Over here when people come here, a lot of time I kind of get a complaint, your chicken is expensive and all that, right? I kind of try to educate to them, right? So why? Do you like the flavor? Do you like the taste, right? Okay, that's matter. There is a reason behind it, right? Our birds are not that big, right? Like, you can infuse them with antibiotics or something. You halal, make them halal properly so the blood drains out, right? And that's actually enhances the flavor to it, right? So it's a matter of education at the end of the day, and it will grow because a lot of people and non-Muslims, right? They come here and they tell me what is so good about it, and and then now they're getting educated about the halal scene and so on. And when you tell them this is what it is, right?
Yes.
They love it, right? So the reason because Europeans and everybody, because of course a lot of Muslims are in the mainstream, then they open it up, and people are just it's a normal thing. You go to California, right? There are multiple restaurants where you go, halal restaurants, where you see non-Muslim people, right? Why? Because it's a matter of education, right? There are so many educated people over there, Muslims, and they go into their work streams, right? And then they invite people to these restaurants and then they educate them. This is what it is. This is Pakistani food. This is Bangladeshi food. This is all that stuff, right? And this, by the way, it's halal. And then
Yes.
they get to know, you know what? That's why the taste. So halal with a mixture of a little bit of spice in it, or a little bit enhances the enhancements that you put it in. I mean, I think there's a great opportunity here, right? That we can tell that folks over here.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So we also actually asked the community for some questions. I
Okay.
know that we didn't get much time, like the announcement was made yesterday, but still we get a few questions. So I want to ask them those questions and let's see. So I think the first question is from brother. All these questions are done anonymously. He wants to know that if you have any advice for the aspiring restaurateurs looking to bring a franchisee to this market.
So basically, a new franchise, or
Yes.
what exactly
Yeah. So any advice if someone plans to bring a new franchise to, say, Seattle?
Yeah, yeah, sure. And it's a long journey that we had to go through, right? On Trust me, it didn't take us like 6 months or so. It's like a 2.5 years process that we had to go through. The reason being because, and one the first and foremost advice for me for all the Muslim brothers and sisters, you have to have a tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You just have to make a clean intentions. This is what you want to do, and things comes into your way. Because before this, we were trying to pick up something else, right? We were about to sign something, and we were pretty excited about it, but somehow the deal didn't go through, right? And then this thing comes into our way, and alhamdulillah, we are now, mashallah, doing good. We are very happy with it, and of course, I'm hoping that our customers are happy, right? So the main thing that you need to look into it is just not get excited just looking at somewhere else. A lot of people, they're coming to me and they're saying, you know what, this thing is very popular in Vancouver. Let's get it done here, right? There are some chains. You look
Mm.
at the demographics. Do you have the same demographics here? It's gonna work or no, right? Same thing with any Chicago area, as you mentioned, right? A lot of people in Houston, the food scene is pretty, good. You know what? And I found out after like opening up this restaurant, my distributor actually told me 1 out of 9 restaurant, or 1 out of 9 kind of a, like a food outlet has a chance of being successful, right? So it's pretty kind of a, I didn't even know that.
Mm.
All I'm saying is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it work like this way, right? I
Yes.
mean, but when before we opening up, right, we just have a clean intention that we want to do something good. So that's what I tell folks, right? It's not about looking at, what, everything is shining and so people are keep coming. No, there's a lot of effort put behind it, right? And I would say do a lot of research on it, whether it's really working or not. Don't get excited that it's working in Vancouver, it will work here, right? Because the weather is different, people approaches are different. People have a different dynamics here, right? I mean, the corporate culture is pretty heavy. People get a lot of subsidized food during the lunchtime and so on, right? There's not like a blue collar folks here that they can come and eat at your restaurant. So that's few of the things that we need to take care of. Take care of.
Great advice. So the next question, I think it also has some relevance what of regarding what you said, like this kind of same kind of research that you actually mentioned that people should do. He's asking if you could bring another franchise to Washington, what would it be?
You just want to know the name, or you just want to think about, anything that's out there, right? If I uh, would be doing something, of course, I am from Pakistan, right? Uh, I want to do some good Pakistani food, Pakistani restaurant and all that stuff. I would look into Karahi Boys, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Zareen's in California, right? Those are the kind of things. But again, most important thing for me is how to scale. Right? I don't. I mean, again, if this question is coming from one of our Desi community member or so on, they might be thinking just open one outlet and you're good to go, right? Uh, I don't think so. That should be not be the approach, right? Because you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be profitable in a sense, right? Yeah, bringing one good outlet would be okay, but you really have to think through it that how you're going to scale. And whatever you're going to bring, just think about how you're going to scale, right? Is it easy? Do you have resources to do that? It's not only that, oh, you know what, I have like six group of people and I have investment, I have money, I can do that. No, it takes a lot. It's not a one-man show, to be honest, right? So you have to think through all these things again to bring it in, right? A lot of people that say, you know what, the cafe is good here. Look at the competition, right? Every 5 minutes you can find a Starbucks,
Yep.
uh, right? So how you're gonna navigate those through things, right? So, and again, it's I'm saying. It's again you have to make a clean intention and things comes into your way, right? So
Yep. I
that's
love that
another
actually, but as you said, like the intention needs to be clean, and
absolutely.
that's something like actually, if you have your intentions clean, that especially in our religion, right? That means
Yeah,
that's very
yeah.
important.
And one of the main things that I want to tell to you and everybody, one thing that I have is my team, right? I'm nothing. We are just very successful, alhamdulillah, because of our team. Everybody is putting a lot of effort into it, and I really want to, give credit to all of those folks. It's not me or Mansoor or Farhan, everybody. It's just a team effort. Everybody stands up whenever something happens. People jump on it, and they get the things done. And all the way when we started, when we actually kind of put a seed into this thinking all the way to here, right? So there are, and one thing that I tell people, folks used to tell them, my team that move on, keep moving. We're gonna have maybe some differences, but our common goal is there, right? That's what we need to work on. So if you are thinking of opening up something, first of all, you need to build a good team, right? And that team, and you really have to rely on them. You just close your eyes, you say whatever I'm doing or whatever he is doing is actually for the betterment of the business and for the success of this franchise or restaurant, then you will be successful. Otherwise, if you keep thinking, he's not doing right, he's not doing that way, and all that stuff, unless you don't have that understanding, don't do it, to be honest.
Exactly. Great advice. Okay, so next question is someone asked that do you have any plans for menu adjustment based on the customer preferences? Because he feels that the prices of all the items are very expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we get this a lot of times. So here's another thing, right? So the main thing that you go into the franchise is everything is set. So we don't have
Yes.
any control, right? The reason because you go to California, you get the same thing. You come to Seattle, you get the same thing. Because franchise, or if I want to introduce something into it, right? And then you go to California, so franchisor will get a complaint. You know what? This franchisee is selling something. Why you're not sending it out? So it's something like that, right? Secondly, yeah, we are expensive. I understand that, but as compared to any other restaurant, we did an extensive research, right? We did a very great competitive analysis. I think we are as expensive or as kind of price sensitive as any other restaurant here, especially when it comes to halal, right? You can go and do a research or yourself. You will find out actually the pricing are same, right? Uh, they may see the chicken, which is pretty big, right? And they say, you know what, the serving size is big. But on the flip side, our chicken is all antibiotic free, hormone free, cage free, right? coming all the way from Indiana, hand slaughtered. So it's a fact that if we are bringing this chicken all the way from there to here, you can imagine, the delivery costs and stuff, right? Here, everything is expensive. I can now understand why and you asked about the halal scene and whatever. That is one of the main reasons. Everything is expensive here. I mean, if you don't have a good kind of a plan how to execute this thing, you're not going to be successful, right? You're going to be in a loss, right? And I want to do something profitable too, right? I mean, it's not only that I'm just serving here. Of course, right? I mean, it takes a lot of effort. Again, you can see around, right? The rents are expensive. The employee wages are huge over here. Recently, they actually raised the wages again, in Seattle, as you know. Delivery cost is high. So if you really want to enjoy something and if you want to be in an environment where you can have something with your family and stuff, you got to pay the price, right? And I tell people, when I used to do what I used to bring is from mangoes from Pakistan, right? And people tell me it's $5 for a mango. I tell them, you know what? If you want to enjoy the Pakistani mango at home, you got to pay the price, right? If you don't want to do that, just go and drive to Vancouver, go eat over there, stuff yourself, and then come back, right? You're gonna find it for $2. So it's all relative, right? So you gotta think about it. And I tell everybody, everything has a cost, right? Whether it's a financial thing, whether it's the money comes out of your wallet, or maybe your time, right? So that's what you gotta balance it off. And that's what my thinking is, right? It's not expensive for this area. We just have this mentality that it's expensive. Of course, if you're gonna go to Dallas, you're gonna find it a little bit cheaper, but then you have so many options over there, right? That you can go and find it, and the resources are cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So yes, please.
So the last question that we got, I think I already asked you somehow, like it was about your personal favorite item on the menu. So yeah, so I actually covered that. So one question about from myself. I'm not sure if you follow the halal community. This podcast is actually I started through like the platform is the community Seattle Halal Foodies. Have you followed the group or community in the past?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
what's your like thoughts or assessment about the group? Like uh, how do you see it, or how it should evolve, or what other things as a community this group has the potential to do?
I think that was one of my, first of all, it was one of my to go kind of a place where wherever I want to go to a new place or to find out, what's going on in a halal scene in Seattle, right? So thanks a lot for, making that work because it takes a lot. I understand that, right? And I'm sure you have a full-time job and you are doing this thing and you're maintaining these platforms because I found out the marketing of these kind of things are not easy. So that's actually a huge kind of advantage for me that I'll just tag along with you because you have so many followers, right? And I would advise everybody, I think, to make use of your resources that you put it out there, right? Yeah, what makes it better, I think, of course, you need more followers and so on. And then you figure it out that and this thing that you're doing the podcast, I think it's pretty good. And maybe after 6 months or so, we may get just gonna meet up again, right? Because people may have some follow-up questions. We have, they have some advices. And and now so I think one of the podcasts that we are doing is basically we are the owner of the restaurant. You should also get some opinions from the customers,
Yes.
right? So I think next time you want to do some kind of this setting, maybe you will do it live with one of our customers and get their opinion, whether it's good or bad, right? So
Mhm.
people get to know the real stuff from the customer, not just from the owners, right?
Yes.
That's what
Okay, so I think that's where we want to conclude. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for bringing this like restaurant to Washington, because it was actually big thing when it actually came to Washington, and we expect that this is just one of the like brick stones in a long pathway. Okay,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, pretty soon we will be growing. You will see more and more opening up, inshallah.
inshallah.
Just need your prayers. Just need my customer support and everything. I get excited when people come here and they say, you know what, I want one in Federal Way, I want one in Bellevue and all that. Right? Our dream is to have it at the one location every 30 minutes. So you don't even have to think through it that, what do I do? What do I need to eat and all that. So that's what we are working on. So hopefully, inshallah, we'll see pretty soon.
Inshallah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yep.
All right.